I'm Luis Scott, managing partner of Bader Scott Injury Lawyers, one of the fastest growing law firms in the country, and I'm also the co-founder of 8-Figure Firm Consulting. I've successfully built multiple companies by focusing on leadership, operations, and culture. Using these principles, my companies have generated close to $100 million in revenue. But before any of this success, I started my legal career as a receptionist, and I worked my way up to becoming managing partner. In each episode of this podcast, I sit down with leaders and entrepreneurs who have had the guts to step out on their own and the courage to face adversity. They share with us their tips for achievement, the challenges they have faced, and the glory of success. I welcome you to the Guts and Glory Show. So I get this all the time, running a law firm and having a business. I hear this, from many employees and other people who apply, especially when people are applying for a job. They'll say things like, I want to apply here because I want to go to law school and I want to be a lawyer. And so I want to, get my hands dirty and I want to be in the legal field. And, I hear this all the time and I'm not really sure if they say it because they really mean it. I'm not really sure if they say it because they're just trying to get the job or if they're trying to impress their boss. I don't really know. What I do know is that in all my years, I've been in the legal industry now about 20 years. In all of my years of working in this industry, I've probably heard that at least 2 or 3 dozen times from people. And I've only seen maybe 2 people actually do it, actually go to law school and become an attorney and go out and fulfill the thing that they said that they wanted to do. So today I'm going to be talking about the difference between winners and those who watch winners win. The difference between people who actually go out and do what they say that they were going to do and people who just talk about it constantly. The difference between the person who says, I'm going to go lose weight and the person who actually goes to the gym and loses the weight that they said that they were going to lose. Because there's a huge difference between those 2 types of people. And if I were to sum it up in one word, that word would be execution. Because when it comes down to the bottom line, if you can execute, you can achieve anything that you want to achieve. The real question is, do you actually want the thing that you're saying that you want? Because a lot of times we talk about things as if it's just the prize. The intention is the prize. The talking about it is the prize. That thing that we're talking about is the prize. And not actually achieving that. So, we'll say things like, I want to be a doctor. That's the prize instead of actually being a doctor. Because there's a lot of respect that comes from that statement when you say, I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a lawyer, or I want to be an actor, or I want to be a social media influencer. But the thing is that we have to get outside of the want and the intention and figure out a way to actually execute and do it. For a long time, I have been trying to lose weight. I keep saying, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to wake up early. I've hired a trainer. Sometimes I eat right. Sometimes I don't eat right. But what it all comes down to is my true desire. And so something that I say a lot when I'm around people and they tell me that they want to accomplish something or be something is that action is the greatest evidence of your true desire. Action is the greatest evidence of your true desire. That is the separator. Action, execution. That's what's going to set you apart. That's what's going to make you different. That's what's going to show people, show the world, show your peers, show your family, show everyone around you that you actually believe that you can accomplish the goal that you've set for yourself. And so no matter what your business is, I don't care if it's a small mom and pop shop or a multi-hundred employer business, execution on your plans and ideas is the only thing that's going to get you to the next level. It's not enough to just say, I want to do that. It's not enough to say that I want to grow my revenue by 100%. It's not enough to say that I want to hire 10 employees. It's not enough to say that I want to network more and get more business and be more active on social media and get a better following and become an influencer. It's not enough to say that. You have to actually do it. You have to actually get the courage within yourself to go out and do these things because nobody's going to do it for you. And there's so many people that go around blaming society their friends, their peers, and others on why they're not successful. Or on the alternative, you have so many people who are out there just criticizing success stories as if it was given to them, as if it was just mere luck that that person was successful. But I want to tell you today that the reason that people don't succeed and get to the next level, whether they want to start a business and become successful, or they have a business and they want to become more successful in that business, the reason that people don't succeed at the next level boils down to really three things. I'm going to share these three things, and then I'm going to tell you what you can do to get yourself out of this rat race of not achieving. The first thing that I want to talk about is that too often we spend our time focusing on what other people think. We care too much about what's inside the mind of someone we don't know. And as I get older, what I'm starting to realize is that we don't know what's in that person's mind. We may think that they have bad intentions for us, or that they don't like our stuff, they don't like our material, they don't like what we're putting out, but we don't know. We don't know what they're thinking. It could be good, it could be bad, it could be indifference, but we have to stop worrying about what people think. You have to stop worrying about what somebody's going to say when you post something on social media, what somebody's going to say about your story. You have to stop worrying about what the person's going to say about your social media or your story, or what they're going to say about your content. You have to stop worrying about what people think if you quit your job to go start another business. You have to erase that completely from your mind. Because if you worry about what other people think, you're letting them live rent-free in your house, letting them live rent-free in your mind. You're letting them control you, and you are not to be controlled. When you let other people influence you, you're allowing the thoughts of other people to dictate how you're going to live your life. And so the difference between a winner and the person who watches the winners is that the person who wins casts aside what people think. The second thing that a person does to win is that they stop worrying about what other people do. Comparison syndrome. It's such a big problem in our country, such a big problem in our society. Social media has promulgated this comparison syndrome. Social media is one of the reasons why so many people are unhappy. It's not because their life is not great. It's not because the things in their life are not great. It's because they spend so much time comparing their everyday life to the highlights of somebody else. When I scroll through social media, nobody posts about the argument that they had with their family, the argument that they had with their sibling, the argument that they had with their spouse. Nobody posts about how bad their kids are. Nobody posts about the negative things, the breakups, the things that we see as negative in our lives, the health challenges. Nobody really posts about that unless they're, sending their Facebook post saying, please pray for my family or something like that. But nobody really posts about that. What we see a lot of times is the great restaurants and the vacations and the beaches and the boating and the lakes and the money and the cars and the drive. That's what we see. And we have to stop worrying about what other people do. We have to start concentrating on what we do. We have to start concentrating on how we make an impact. We have to start concentrating on how we do the things that we need to do to become successful. Because there are things that we can do to become successful that do not rely on other people. And the last thing is that we need to start focusing on the micro steps of our action plan. I used to talk about wanting to start a podcast. And for years, and I'm talking about years, like I remember seeing a note in my phone. Your phone holds notes, and I carry notes on there, and they're dated from when you wrote the note. And I remember seeing one of the notes from my phone, and it was dated 2017. In that note, it said, start a podcast. Well, I never got it off the ground. I never did anything with it. I never even wrote a script for a podcast. And what I realized is that I was focusing too much on what people think. I was focusing too much on what people were doing. And I was thinking to myself, nobody's going to want to listen to this. Here I am thinking for people. I'm not going to be able to bring the content that people want because everyone else has created all the content in the world. And meanwhile, within 3 years, people have become extremely successful on podcasts. Brand new podcasts have come up every single year, and people are making hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe even millions of dollars doing their own podcasts. And here I am thinking that nobody else needs new content. And so I kept making excuses. They are this, they are that, they had this, whatever. It didn't matter, because any excuse is good when you don't really believe in yourself. And so finally, I got to the point where I just got sick and tired of being sick and tired of not doing the podcast, because I wanted to do a podcast. I felt like I had something to share. And you, right now, you're listening to this and you're thinking to yourself, I have something to give this world. I have something that people want and need. I have a word of encouragement. I have a piece of art. I have a hand skill that I can do. I can craft furniture. I can be a social media influencer. I'm a great travel guide. I have something that people want and need. And you're getting to the point where you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And today is the day for you to get out of that fear of what people think, out of that mindset of thinking of what people do, and start putting together the micro steps of your action plan. And so that's what I started doing, is I started focusing on the micro decisions that were going to make me positioned to have a podcast. So I started asking myself, what would the podcast be called? What would it be about? What would be my first episode? I started thinking about all of these things. Then I got a title for the episode. And then I sat down and I started writing major thesis and major topics, and what was I going to talk about, and what was I going to write about, and how was I going to structure it? Should I have a guest? Should I have a co-host? I thought about all these things, and I started writing every point little by little. And the next thing you know, here, I had a title. I had a podcast theme. I had written my first script, and now I was ready to start recording it. So then I went in, and because of fear, I didn't want to record it because I thought I sounded horrible. So I started recording it multiple times, over and over and over and over again. I probably recorded my first podcast 5 times before I was satisfied with the product. And then I needed intro music, and I needed an introduction. But wait a second, because it doesn't end there. I got all my micro decisions done. I was doing little things one by one, but the time had come to polish the product, and imposter syndrome came in. Imposter syndrome set in. And for those of you guys who don't know what imposter syndrome is, that's when you start feeling like you're not worthy, you don't have the authority, and you're not capable of really delivering on the value and the content that you've written. And so what I had to do is I had to pass the recorded podcast to a friend of mine to edit it, to put the music, to put the intro, and to load it up to the podcast, because I knew that if I didn't do that, I was never going to do it myself. And so here I am right now in my podcast, super excited that I'm delivering content. And at the end of the day, what I'm the most excited about is that I've turned intention into execution. I've turned what I desired into what I'm doing. I've now given myself an opportunity to reach people that before I was not reaching because I had the fear of what people thought. I worried about what people did, and I was not concentrating on the micro decisions to actually execute on the plan. See, all of us, deep down, we want to be judged on our good intentions. But intentions won't get the job done. You must act. You must do something with what you have in your head, in your mind, in your brain, so that you can deliver that to someone out in the world, because someone right now is praying for a solution that you have, and you owe it to them to bring it to them by executing on your plan. So that's the difference between winners and those who watch people win, is they turn intention into execution. They develop a plan to get it done. You can do it today. And I hope that you take this time to really develop a plan that's going to help you succeed. Thank you for joining me. I can't wait to share my next podcast with you. So be sure to subscribe so that you can get notifications about when my next podcast drop.
You've been listening to the Guts and Glory Show with Luis Scott. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to share. For more information on this episode, please see the show notes at www.gutsandgloryshow.com. And join us next time as we talk to another leader in business that had the guts to overcome all odds for the glory of success.